Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, intuitive tarot reader, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about the Therapist Who Tarot deck. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. Get my free 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, my lovely listeners, at the beginning of this year by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. And of course, you'll get that free 5-card tarot spread as well. I know we are near the end of 2025, but I think it'd be super interesting to do it as sort of a retrospective. So I will actually be doing that on an upcoming episode. I will use my 5-card tarot spread for 2025 to sort of do a review and perhaps look back at what I pulled at the beginning of the year as well, since I have that recorded on the podcast. I am looking for 1 to 2 more guests to be on the podcast before the end of 2025, so if you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit, please fill out my form to be a guest on the podcast. If you're local and want to meet me in person, you can join me for our last full moon circle of 2025 on December 7th. Celebrate the glow of the full moon with me and my colleague Izzy for an evening of connection, reflection, and ritual. We meet at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma the first Sunday of the month to welcome in the full moon together. So tickets for our December 7th event are up now, and this is just in a couple of days, so we still have some spots available, and we would love to see you there. You can find the links for any of our offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. Well, welcome to season 19, where I'm talking all about different decks and how to use them. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics, where I do my 2025 5-card tarot spread. If you want to listen to that. Season 4, I talked tarot and pop culture, which was super fun. Season 5, I talked general tarot spreads. In season 17, I talked autumn tarot spreads, so if you are looking for some spreads there. And I just wrapped up season 18 on color magic, which is all about color correspondences with days of the week and color magic in general. So like I said, now we are on to season 19, where I'm talking all about different decks and how to use them. And today I'm talking about the Therapist Who Tarot deck. So what style of deck is this? This is a tarot deck, like I said. Where did I get the deck? I got it. I attended a Therapist Who Tarot retreat in spring of 2024, like late spring, I think May. Put on by Dreya Blume and Rebecca Blume, both therapists, and they created this deck together. So I attended that retreat, which was very cool, and then as a way to support them and sort of get some of their work as well and support them in that way, I bought this deck from them. You can buy it on Etsy. And like I said, they're both therapists. So Dreya Blume did the prompts, and the images are watercolor painted by Rebecca Blume. And on the front of the deck, it says, or on the box, it says, ask a question, pull a card. I'll read a little bit of the back because I think it's interesting. It says, most folks, they say they are not intuitive or are not sure how to trust which choices are right for them. A single card pull from a tarot deck offers a way to ground into your intuition, even in the most stressful moments. Inspired by the 20 tarot decks I own, I painted this deck hoping that the images would allow you to feel connected to your own sense of self. It says the 78 cards have been used for hundreds of years. Using the 1909 Rider-Waite-Smith deck and a process painting style, this deck reflects on the appeal of tarot for everyday use or as support in difficult times. So Dreya Blume, the one who wrote the content for it, is a psychotherapist, author, and educator. They've been immersed in the world of tarot since 2004, loving every minute of it. They also do a ton of tarot activity books, tarot continuing education classes for therapists, lots of different things. So if this is intriguing to you, definitely check them out. You can check them out at dreyablume.com or dreyablumecounseling.com. And Rebecca Blume is a licensed mental health counselor and a board certified art therapist working with adults with complex post-traumatic stress disorder in South Seattle, and they can be found at blumecounseling.com. So yeah, that's sort of them and where I got this. So I spent a lovely, I think 5 days with these folks. In the morning, we would learn about how to use tarot in a mental health context as a therapist, like bring it into therapy sessions, how to document it in your clinical notes, how to advertise that you do this with clients, how to get, add it to your paperwork so clients are aware that this is a part of the work that you do. And then in the afternoon, Rebecca would show us art and some of the images she's created, and she would just sort of like tell us about tarot and the different cards as we collaged our own tarot cards, which is super fun. So I love doing that, and I've held the tarot meetups in order to continue that practice of doing the collage of creating your own tarot cards. So that is a thing I learned from them, and it was very cool to do. And I think it allows you to interact with the tarot in a different way. So you can follow Rebecca Blume at our text on Instagram. And like I said, I'll have the link so you can buy this deck if you're interested. So that's where I got it. So the changes from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So instead of like a traditional tarot deck where all the backs of the cards look the same, on this deck you have, the traditional images on one side with the border, and they are watercolor done. So it's a different style than acrylic or digital art. A little more, literally watery or sort of like smudged or subtle in a lot of ways. And then on the back of each card, there are sort of like reflection questions. So that is different than a traditional tarot deck, and there's no guidebook for this deck. So of course, this does mean that you have to know, I guess, in my opinion, it's helpful to know a bit of the normal tarot structure because there isn't a deck guidebook. It does have so like on top here, I have the Queen of Swords, and it does have a word underneath each card that says, so for this one, it's creativity. It has the image. And then on the back, it says, what are you trying to avoid? What are you craving? And how have you been coping with stress? So that is sort of how these cards work. It's kind of cool. They can be used in kind of like a different context because, of course, you can shuffle them and have the pictures up and then look at the reflection questions on the back, or you can kind of shuffle them like normal, and then you get, you pull your image and then you see kind of, the back, the questions on the back give you an idea of, what the card is about. But that is different, obviously, from a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I think the other things are they use spirals instead of pentacles. Spirals are one of the more ancient depictions of pentacles or coins, and because they are like occur in nature. And so they use spirals, and I'm trying to remember. They call, instead of, now of course I have to figure this out. So we have King, Daughter, 9, the Star, the Magician. Sorry, I'm trying to, some of the court cards, so like the Page, Knight, King, Queen. The King and Queen, I believe, are the same, but they use Daughter. I'm trying to remember if that's for the Page or for the Knight. Justice, 10, Ace, Queen. So they have Queen, they have King. You get some tarot ASMR here. Knight. Okay, so daughter is the page equivalent. So that is one change. They change all of the pages to daughter, daughter of swords, daughter of spirals, daughter of wands, daughter of cups. And I believe that's it. So spirals instead of pentacles or coins, and daughter instead of page. Yeah. And then of course, like the imagery, like I said, it is done in watercolor, which is pretty different from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And a lot of my decks, I would say, are either kind of like, well, now I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't think I have any others that are watercolor. I guess a lot are done in acrylic, so like oil paints. And I did learn while talking to or learning from Rebecca Blume, who did the imagery for this while we were at the retreat, that it makes sense, but I'd never thought about it before, that of course when you create a tarot deck traditionally for an image, so like she created, right, these watercolors, and then they're sort of like scanned and printed. So when you actually make the card as like an artist, you make it large, like much larger than a tarot card. And then because you want the quality to look really good when it's shrunk down, yeah, that you do it as like a large canvas. So that's an interesting thing to think about. I guess maybe not if you're doing like digital art. I don't know if that's still true, but that was something that I had never really thought about before, of like, yeah, I guess it makes sense that someone's not like painting tiny images, and that they're doing it maybe on a traditionally quite large canvas. And then it's sort of, yeah, I guess scanned and then printed, into a deck, right, to have everything be the same size. So like I said, the imagery is watercolor. It's a lot like, there's sort of like humanoid shapes. We get some faces, but a lot of the times, like, they're pretty, I was gonna say subtle. That's not totally true. Some of them look a lot more like stick figures, and some look more like there's a vague shape of a human. There's lots of different colors in here. They do have the different suits to have different border colors. So like spirals are green, cups are blue. The major arcana cards have a black border. The swords are orange and the wands are red. So there is like cohesion throughout that. What do I like to use it for? So it does sort of use the traditional imagery, so it can be good for that. It's fun to use it with folks that maybe already have some ideas about tarot, or maybe in a more like therapeutic context, or where I think the reflection questions are going to be helpful. Like I see all of my clients virtually via telehealth, so on my computer. But this is a deck that it would be cool to use in person with folks. Either if you are a therapist, this is a thing you could use with folks there, where you can look at the image, right, and get an idea from there. And then also you could kind of explore the questions on the back. It could also be used for as like journaling questions. So there actually is kind of like a single card in here that is a guide for the deck. It says, ask a question, pull a card, reflect on what you see in the image. Does the word have a meaning for you? So like Two of Swords says choice. Then it says, find that card in your favorite book on tarot for more information. So, right, if you do have books on tarot or other decks, right, you can go to that guidebook. So you could look for this one up, the Two of Swords. It says, tell a friend you got that card, journal, or make your own version of that card in 2D or 3D. Who do you want with you on your journey? Who are you ready to know? Who have you avoided that you were ready to befriend? So that was sort of the guide for this deck here. Anything I wouldn't use it for, yeah, I guess if folks maybe don't know the sort of traditional tarot meanings, or like if you don't have any reference books or don't want to like search it on the internet, like obviously like it doesn't give you much, like it doesn't really give you a description of the card. So for maybe folks that want a more literal interpretation or don't have the background of tarot, like that would be helpful, because you don't get a ton from these cards. unless, like I said, you kind of already know, or you're looking for more of like reflection questions like are on the back. I'm trying to think what else I wouldn't use it for. I guess I tried to use it in my Color Magic season because I was trying to use all of my different decks. And it was kind of hard because actually it's quite colorful. Like very few of the cards have a single color on them. So that was just kind of interesting to observe. There are definitely like themes, like I said, with the suits having different colors. And I did use that a couple times, but I would say other decks have, I don't know, a lot more of like a color scheme to them. So if that was important to you, or what else? I guess, yeah, like pretty much all the cards in here depict people of like various, like I said, to various degrees. Like I guess the moon card here doesn't have a person on it, but they don't usually. The Lovers card has a snake. The Five of Swords has like 5 swords in a pentagram shape, but most of them have people. So if folks were like not wanting that, or or wanting like a different sort of imagery or style, or wanted a bit maybe of like distance between like themselves and the card, maybe a different deck that again has like animals or plants or other interpretations of the cards would be helpful. But yeah, I like it. It is a bit more of like a square card. It's larger than maybe like a traditional, I guess it's wider than a traditional tarot deck. So it can be a bit hard to shuffle. It comes in a box, and this is my one box that is faring pretty roughly. I should get a like bag for this deck because the deck is still holding up very well. But my box has fully like unglued itself at the bottom, and is going to rip into pieces fairly soon. And I just got this deck in like spring of 2024, so it's not super old. I do like throw my deck boxes like in my bag, and I take them a lot of places since I do a lot of tarot related stuff. So, you know, if you keep it at home and you keep it pretty nice, like, I probably won't do that. But that is one, I guess, sort of personal downside for this deck. I like it a lot, and the deck itself is on like very thick, I guess like kind of like cardstock is what I was going to say, but it has like a laminated aspect to it. And it's very like matte. Actually, it's not like shiny. But that's my only downside for this deck. And yeah, that I wouldn't necessarily use it with folks that are wanting like a traditional tarot reading, but then maybe like want that deck guidebook description or reversals. Cause that's the other thing, like, unless you know the cards, if you pull it in reverse, it'd be pretty hard to read a reversal without really knowing what it is, or like, how do you read a reflection question in reverse? Like, so it doesn't lend well to reversals perhaps. So again, this is the Therapist Who Tarot deck, prompts by Dreya Blume, images by Rebecca Blume, and I'll link to both of their web pages and also where you can buy the deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle and see what message the deck has for us today. Oops, let me take out the guide card. One more shuffle. Okay, what message does this deck have for us today? All right, well, I pulled the Four of Wands in reverse. So it says marriage, and it sort of has two people, I would say, with kind of like a interesting thing in between them that is like swirly. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain these cards. There are like some people in the background. We see kind of like 4 other human shapes in the background, and then we see these like 4 pillars, and again, like, those are the wands depicted here. And it says marriage is the word associated with it. So on the back it says, where do you find community? Which of your friendships do you most value, and what should you be celebrating? Yeah, so that's kind of what you get from it. So like I said, I pulled it in reverse, but if we're just going off this card, it's kind of hard to know what that might be saying. So maybe you're having challenges finding community. Maybe there's like aspects of friendships that you do value and other parts that feel more challenging right now. Or perhaps again, like there's something you should be celebrating, but it feels like you're not allowing yourself to do that. Perhaps if we think about a reversal. So yeah, it sounds like we're focusing on community, friendships, and celebration. So right, like coming together in this sort of metaphorical marriage with this card. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And like I said, thanks for joining me today. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleIsaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.